Well, it's hard to believe that we actually only have days before this month is over. What a crazy month. I mean, first of all, I have been all over the country, but how exciting was it last week when HBO Cinemax dropped our documentary, Somewhat Familiar? My friend Pedro, he actually chose us to be in this amazing, amazing documentary about how families are built. And it was such a pleasure to invite HBO and Cinemax into our home. My children enjoyed it. We actually made new friends. But you know what? The thing is that every single month, I feel that we should be talking about all families. And I think we definitely should have the conversation about adoption. It doesn't really matter to me whether how your family's built. Is just the fact that it matters that you have options on how to build your family. But before my next guest, I have a quick little thing I have to say. The thing is that I've always wanted to be a dad. It was something I thought about as a young boy, something that, as I grew up as a young man, that tap in the back of my head to being a dad was still there. And when we were able to start to adopt our children, there was no other feeling. But this week on November 28th is actually my son Tristan's 17th birthday. I remember when he was 6 months old and the social worker handed him to us. I remember when he looked up at me. I knew at that moment, just like I did with my other three kids, is that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. That's exactly right. I was supposed to be a dad that built our family through adoption. So, without any further ado, I want to welcome back my amazing friend, Marcy.
Great to be back. I think we did this initially like in the pandemic, so it's been some years, Rob.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the fact is we've stayed friends, and I love that, because I say this all the time. I have literally have got some of the greatest friends through this podcast, and you are definitely one of them. I'm
I went
so
to meet in
so
person in DC, Angels in Adoption. Like it's just, yeah, it's been incredible in this space. So thank you for having me and bringing so many other cool people to the
Oh,
table.
let me tell you something. It's so funny. I never in a million years thought I'd have a podcast, first of all. And for the first probably 5 seasons, I'm going to say probably 5 seasons, maybe even 6 seasons if you have to my producer, I kept saying this was my last season. I can't do. And then it was some light bulb that went off last year. We had gone to the every other week model, and it was just the number of people that were reaching out that I was just like, you know what? I'm going to continue doing this because I love the fact that we can have conversations, and that's what we need to make change. Listen, I want to talk about it. I want to talk about the fact that it's okay to talk about adoption, changing the conversation to help more kids find families. Kudos to you. It is about time that this kind of book is coming out. And by the way, everybody, it's in pre-order right now. You can actually get your hard copy in January, but I'm going to tell you something. You can get it in audio, and I know so many of you. I
And
do
I
it.
read it. I'm your narrator.
I know, and that's what I was getting ready to say is that not only do you get to, I'm listening to it on the treadmill, I'm listening to it at the gym, I'm listening to it in my car, but I feel like Marcy's sitting right next to me. So,
And that's the point, because all of this started out of my living room. I mean, it's exactly what you talk about with your podcast, where people reach out to you. And that has been consistent in this space is as much as we can say, hi, I want to make this okay for you. People are comfortable coming to us one-on-one. They don't want to just tell the world because you don't know how the world's going to respond. But the more of us that can say, this matters to me, and you don't have to be an adoptee, you don't have to be a birth parent, you don't have to be adopted. You don't have to be a foster. You don't have to be even connected in any like I have a story, but just I care. And it opens doors. Rob, I'll tell you, I had a friend has never adopted. She's like a foster mom for dogs. All right. Like no nowhere. She's not an adoptee. She's not connected. I simply said, hey, do you think your company could like look at these adoption benefits? Could you just maybe ask someone? And she was like, oh, I can pass this paper along. This is easy. So she takes the Dave Thomas Foundation, adoption friendly workplace stuff to work. It's 800 people that work at this company, Rob. Their HR people do their stuff or they analyze, or are we doing a fair job among all the parenting routes? They realize they're not equitable. They do some tweaks and changes. Open enrollment comes out a year later. Again, she has zero connection to being an adoptive family, right? And her company rolls out benefits where they're providing financial support, they're providing leave, they're doing the right things for families. And Rob, within 30 days, ready for this? Two of her coworkers sign up. Why? Because they knew it was okay. They knew they had the support, but never would you ever have known, right? Like you have no idea what people are thinking or feeling unless you say this is okay. And we have this for you. And we have the same thing happening in corporate America. KPMG has like a support group inside their
Yeah.
company. And you have people that are surrogates coming to the table. You have people that, they're relatives of those that in my family, brother or sister, and we're able to talk about stuff that's real to us because we know it's okay.
Yeah, and I love that. I absolutely love that because let me tell you something. My friend Jennifer Perry at Foster Moore, they did this whole entire campaign about talking around the water cooler, talking about foster care. And I'm telling you something, that was a movement like we have never seen. I mean, so many things that we talk about is because Foster Moore broke that seal and made it comfortable. And all of a sudden, I'm not even kidding you this, Marcy, when you reached out and about you writing this book, that was the first thing I thought about was like, oh my gosh, we finally have someone saying it's okay to talk about adoption. And I do think that that is such a stigma. I think it's one of the reasons
Mhm.
why, and not as much in yours and my generation, but I feel so much was taken and hidden from kids and not told them they were adopted because society made it like almost taboo. So it wasn't that the birth parents were trying, I mean, the adoptive parents were trying to keep a secret from that particular child that they had adopted. Society didn't make them feel comfortable that they would embrace that child as if they would brace it was their own family, biological family. Do you feel that?
Yeah, it's interesting though, because I think yes and right. Like there definitely is there are people of varying generations that their whole life they just knew. Like my kids have always known. One because they were a little bit older when we adopted them, right? But like it's never been weird or awkward. But Rob, I don't know about you. I had a childhood where my sisters teased me and like, oh, you were adopted. And it was like so normal
Yeah,
to pretend,
yeah,
right? And it's kind of rude, like if we're really honest about it. But
exactly.
within the book, Susan shares her own story growing up where her mom had an infertility journey. So for her, adoption was the plan B. And so when Susan was little, she looks up at her mom at an event, and it's like a picnic outdoors, and mom tells some other adult, "Oh yeah, she's adopted." And Susan's little, she's like 4 or 5, looks up at mom and thinks, "I am." And her mom looks at her and says, "Oh, you didn't know?" And Rob, that was it. That was supposed to solve all of her questions her entire life. And I think part of it is that and this is part of I have a pledge that we'll get to involve with the book, but like it's okay to need support professionally with friendships, whatever that might look like. But if this is your journey, wherever you've crossed it, you need to process that. And sometimes, I mean, maybe Susan's mom didn't have that kind of support to go talk to a therapist or in a faith community like that, it was okay to just kind of walk through your own story of how I had to go to therapy myself. That was something I electively did as we were going through our own adoption
I
through
still
foster
go, by
care.
the way.
Yes, because it's healthy, right? But I think there's something that someone said that's okay. Like, Rob, it's okay and it's
Yeah.
healthy. And you chose, yes, I will do that, even though it's really hard work. I mean, there's many a nights I came home late in bed and was like, everyone leave me alone. Like, this is such heavy stuff I'm dealing with. But it was never weird or shamed in
Right.
my environment, but it could be, right? So some of that's just saying, yes, yes, this might be something that doesn't feel encouraged to you, but there is another wave, another group of people that we're here for you and we want to help you thrive in that.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with you on all of that. What I want to know, what inspired, I mean, you've written some amazing books, by the way, children's books, you've written other books that I just love. You have an amazing organization that truly does the support that people need when it comes to adoption. What made you decide to write this book?
And I've got a graphic novel coming next year. Stay tuned. So that might kind of like round
When
out
do
because
you
what I mean, it's all
sleep?
all the grade levels. Right, my children's books only in elementary, and we need to bring this conversation to all grades. But this book, what happened? Back to Susan. She lived in my area a long time ago, and at the time, she herself was adopted, but she also adopted internationally two different kids from Moldova, different parts of Moldova. And we had crossed our lives at a moment where her kids were in high school, and she was just very open as a friend, was explaining to me how they were going about letting their kids meet their birth families. And so in her wings, I'm learning and I'm gleaming, and we kept in touch over the years. She moves to Florida. So we keep Zooming like this, we keep hanging out. And we've always talked, it's just been an honest thing we've always talked about, just because we could. And it felt very natural. Like, teach me this. How are you dealing with this? How is this? And one day we're both like, someone should, someone should really do something about this. And so this was about 2 years ago, Rob. And I was like, oh, well, this is what it should be called. And I'll get the table of contents, but it needs to wait because I only launched products in May, which is National Foster Care Month, in November, which is National Adoption Month, had a few other things going on, a research study and so forth. So I was like, it has to wait, but yes, we will. And so it just kind of came out of this friendship of us really sharing openly back and forth and learning. And we're like, everyone should be okay. Like, we should let everyone know. It's not just our stories. It's not just something that two people can do together, but many of us can be part of this. And the book itself isn't just us sharing stories, but it's really us sharing tactical, practical things that anyone can do, regardless if you're connected to this space or not. There's a university in Tennessee that's doing really incredible things by way of both sides of the story. How do we help youth impacted by aging out of the system get into a college education? What are we doing on the campus to support them? How do we help students get trauma-informed education? On the flip side, you're a faculty member at Belmont University. They're giving you time to go through the licensing classes on the clock.
Wow.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Like, that was like, to me, it's brilliant, but I'm like, why aren't all universities doing this? And then they have their own like care group at the school. So, you're in this situation, a child, you had a call last night for some siblings, all your life is disheveled, and they're there to wrap around you. And it's like the most beautiful way to live your life because you're not going, oh, this is my part of life I do outside my job. Oh, this is the thing I do. Like, people can know this is part of who you are. And that's really what adoption is, right? It's part of how we live our lives. And I don't think anyone ever meant to exclude that about our lives, Rob. And I think it really just, people don't know how to include. They never thought about, like, oh, maybe how should I adjust this assignment for elementary school students? Bringing a baby photo, hyper common. My son had this happen, and I'm thinking, I don't have that. And man, I'm kind of pissed that you asked me because I don't want to talk about it. Like this is
Right.
weird. How do I explain my child? But yet there wasn't an alternative, and the teacher wasn't trying to do anything to leave us out. She just didn't know. And so I
Right.
think so much of it, just talk about it, and then it becomes okay, and then we can modify.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with you on that. I mean, it's the same thing that Reese and I did with our children because a lot of our children, we don't have baby pictures. And so, we made sure that before our children walked into an environment that they were educated, the people around them. I remember when we moved into our town, we've been 15 years now, and they used to do this thing called donuts for dads and muffins for moms. And immediately I said, do you realize the triggers that you are doing to children who have lost
Mm.
their mom to cancer or father to the war? Not even take the fact that my kids have two dads, but it's just other children. People don't think about it like that. And even to the baby picture thing. But I will to tell you, kids nowadays, my daughter, she's 21 years old. She came to us when she's 4. My children, as you can see, are 4 kids of color. And people will walk up to us and they'll say, oh, your family's so beautiful. I don't see any color, that not even like they're adopted. And my kids look at me and I'm like, then you don't see my black kids because, but the reason I bring that up is that I want my kids to feel comfortable to talk about the adoption and other people surrounding them saying, wow, this is a beautiful family that was built by adoption.
Let me flip it on you, Rob. So let's say, because I had this happen in my own life where I had a young woman ask me, like, are you and your husband going through infertility? Why on earth would you adopt these kids? And I remember in that moment being really upset and like offended. Now, my later self that processed that realized she just kind of projected a paradigm and she felt safe enough to process that. So really, not shame on me or her, it was more just her projection of what she thought. Why do people adopt? Oh, they adopt because they can't. But that's like 30% of the stories out there. It's not all of us. And so I wonder, what I'm thinking is the people at the grocery store saying, oh, I don't even see color. What they're trying to say is, I'm not going to ask you if your kids are adopted because it's kind of obvious and I don't want to make it weird. And I'm trying to give you a compliment, but I don't know what to say. And
Oh,
what I'm going to
yeah.
say, I'm trying to be warm and friendly, but I'm actually lacking words. So I'm going to ask you, Rob, on the spot. If you were to give the person in the grocery store the words to say to you, what would you want to hear?
The fact of raising four kids of color and raising one son who's white, I really would want them to know that they need to be seen and they need to be seen within their color. That's something that, and again, for Reese and I, our decision to raise our children in an environment that they are seen as young black gentlemen, young black women. That's why the pictures in our house are mostly of people of color. So I don't know. I just think, I don't know. That's a great
What
question.
a beautiful family you have, Rob. I mean, is that sufficient? Like, because
Yeah,
I mean, the
yeah,
hard
I
thing
think
is
that
like
that's
maybe
perfect. You
sure,
know,
but maybe I want to ask you about adoption. I don't know how. And so this is where like we're trying in this book to
that's a
say it's actually
great,
okay if it's messy. Like it is okay if like the words come out sideways. I had to work through this myself because words come out sideways all the time in any part of our lives, right?
yeah,
And so that's why I'm asking you because I'm like, well, teach us all.
yeah.
What's a better way to do that?
I have to tell you something. It's the first aha moment I've had. I can't tell you when that you just gave me because what a great segue to talk about adoption. What a great segue to show, and understanding very much like, I mean, we've adopted kids from 6 months to 18. So, adopting an older adoption, and I want to get into this, talk about the adoption process because, we're looking at over 100,000 kids in our foster care system that the parents have had TPRs. Their rights have been severed. They're sitting there for adoption. Average age, if the last I read is 7.
Mhm.
I think that we need to have more opportunities to see these amazing kids and people like what you said who hadn't thought about adoption, but I mean, the adopting an older child, I never thought that it would happen in my life. But when we met our son, it was that click of he was meant to be our son. And even at 18, and now he's 24, going to be 25 in January. Um, and I'm still
And
making
he's
up
in our
for it.
children's book, all of you all, because I think you were adopting him right as I proposed to you, surprise, and you're like, "No, one more kid, please." It was the coolest thing.
It was. It really was. So, what do you hope that we're going to get out of this book? And again, everybody, it's on Audible. Download it today. The hard copy will come out. The paperback will come out in January. But get the book. Get the book
Yeah,
because you
and
know
there's
what?
ebook too. So if you're a Kindle reader, we've got you. Lots of retailers are coming on board the next couple of weeks, but it's really just what you just did, Rob. It's that aha, right? That it's okay. So there's sort of this gradient of us, right? Like we can be so nervous that we don't want to offend a single person. We never talk about it. And then we stay in the stigma taboo space, right? And then we have the I say anything and I'm just not learning along the way. And what I'm hoping is we all kind of land in the middle and we say, okay, I actually am not an expert. Like regardless of how much I've lived this or not, and regardless of how old I am or not, I just want to learn and I want to listen and I want to spark conversations and I want to help people be okay that we all can learn together in this space because that's really what it is. Like if we don't talk about adoption, then we're missing such an opportunity and we're missing such an opportunity to help all kids in classrooms, which the data shows us 1 in 25 kids in this country are adopted. That is pretty much every school in our nation has a child adopted. If we're never talking about it, which is why my children's book is there, and then we'll have through middle school, high school, because if we're never putting it in literature, where are they seeing themselves?
Yeah.
Right. And then at the same thing in workplaces. So if we could just make it okay to just talk about it and also help people know like the words don't have to come out right. Like
Yeah.
I'm actually here to help work through that. I've gotten things, my children being adopted through foster care. They've been told, oh, Marcy, it's so inspiring. You adopted damaged kids.
Oh, I've
That
heard
hurts a bit. Okay, that
that
hurts. But I
hurts.
think what I've learned is the person saying that did not mean to offend me. In the moment, because I didn't know better, it felt offensive, right? But to say now, okay, in that same conversation, I think I hear you. I think maybe you've learned that kids in foster care have been through some trauma. Here's a better way to say that. And then it helps the person. And if I were to really do this in real life, I think what you're trying to say is you're noticing my kids have gone through some trauma and you're recognizing that this is a very unique situation. And so maybe you could just call it that. Like it's really
Yeah.
cool that you're helping kids that have kind of had a rough start to life. That sounds a little bit better than damaged, right?
Yeah.
But if we're not willing to kind of hit it, and to say, hey, let's pause for a minute in a loving, not like I'm gonna call you out, but just like a loving, I want to learn and teach together. That's how we make change. right? We make change by figuring it out together and learning together.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely love that. And you're exactly right. I mean, I told you, everybody, what an incredible episode. Marcy, so many aha moments for me, by the way, because I'm a reactive individual. And so I love that
We make
fact.
it protective of our
Yeah.
families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially when you hear comments like that, I've heard that, oh, you saved the chill. And I'm like,
Yes. Yes.
no, I didn't save anybody. If anything, they saved me. But it's guys, I'm telling you something, it's a lot to take in. It's something that I hope we will continue to keep talking about. Marcy, the one thing that I want to end this with is, and I want your opinion on this. As we adopted our children and understanding, we started the process 16 years ago with them, but then we did the process again, in 2021. And we were surprised that the process had not changed adopting children out of foster care. It's very long, tedious, just, a lot of uncertainty, I mean, we're talking, I adopted somebody who had been in the system since he was 5. 11 homes, 6 schools. I mean, it wasn't like somebody was banging the door down to bring him home for reunification, but it still took us the amount of time that it took us to adopt our first 4 kids. What do we do about that?
Okay, so there's two ways to look at this because I spent some time one weekend and I was like, what if I went to the system and I helped them learn how to be more efficient? Like, what if I did that? And I spent a weekend imagining this, like 20 years of my life, I'm going to help improve a process that is long overdue to be smoother and more consistent across the country, right? And Rob, I kid you not, in my head, by the end of the weekend, I could see a little clock tick a second over. And I thought, oh, that's going to be 20 years of my life. I'm going to make zero impact because that is a really just complicated thing to coordinate. Like our nation, this is all divided by state and by county and by agency. So it's like streamlining that as much as I would love that to be something to see in my lifetime. I think it is possible. I don't think that's necessarily my task. I think that would take a huge this is something I do, you know, this part. I have a whole day job in tech and this is my passion project. So I'm like, I don't even know that like one full-time job could do that. But what I do know is what does work, and this is what I've been doing as I've adopted my own children, is if you explain to others that want to navigate this journey, it requires grit. And while you want to think about it as simple as us clicking on Amazon, not that kids are a transaction by any means, but we love things that are efficient. We love, oh, I want this, I'm going to get this. And within foster care adoption, you have to shift the lens. And this is just the reality of it. You are not the customer. You have to drive the process. And so what you need is empathy. You need empathy to be really great at following up with the social worker to say, hey, checking in. Do you have my paperwork? Hey, checking in. Can you sign me up for classes? And then do it again and again, about 3 and 5 times. The reality is, should you have to do that? I'm not saying this is okay. What I'm
Right.
saying is, if you do this, it works.
It does. And
And so
and I will
that's
have to
really,
agree with you on that, by the way, because I do think that our adoption with our younger kids, it happened because we were one of these door knockers with our social
yes.
worker. And when they told us we had to do a class, my husband found a private instructor for us to get the class done like that. So anybody couldn't say our paper. Listen, everybody, it is, and I will say this as a dad of 5, I'd do it over again 50
Yes.
times over because I'm telling you something, that moment when a child looks at you with such unbelievable love, and it's love of safety, it's love of, believing in them, it's love of, I'm telling you, if your heart smiles at the end of the day, you've done your day well. And if you have children, and if you, gosh, Marcy, it's the best thing ever. So,
It is. And they know nothing about the process, right? They don't understand all these hoops we jump through. But at the same time, it's like if we don't, who will?
yeah.
Right? It's like you just have to keep pushing. And that piece of I can't overemphasize, just kind of how a sweet, kind, but pushy word goes a long way. So it's again back to like, are we being abrasive or are we trying to work with the system and push it and firmly and not trying to upset people? Because it's like if we upset them, they're not going to call us back. But if
Right.
we can work with them, it works really well.
And it's all about the delivery, by the way. It's
Yes.
all about the delivery. Listen, everybody, this has been another amazing episode of Fostering Change. I am telling you, what a way to end National Adoption Awareness Month. My amazing friend Marcy. You're going to see a link here that you are able to get not only the audiobook, but you can pre-order the book that's coming out in January. And Marcy, I can't wait to have you back to talk about the next thing that you're actually doing because I know there's something up your sleeve. Everybody, again, this is a month of giving. It's the season of giving. And if anybody that you could think of could deserve anything more, then truly it's children who are entering our foster care system, aging out of our system, or just in the system in general. You're not able to adopt, but the thing I can tell that each and every one of you are able to do is to actually volunteer, mentor, understand where we're coming at. But what I really would love to see you do, go to your workplace, talk to them. Do they have something for people who want to adopt? Because I'm telling you, it changes the entire dynamics of that workplace. Have a good day, everybody.